Moms should eat more DHA. You need folate from leafy greens. Choline is needed for neurotransmitters. Uncooked egg yolk is full of choline. What is a choline? Every parent wants smart, healthy children. This is Todd in episode 104 with Amir Mofidi, Tyler Mounts, and Dr. Alice Nguyen. We're going to talk about how expectant mothers should eat and how to feed your kids to perform at their best.
Hey guys, this is Jessica Watts, and this episode of Stark Naked Radio is brought to you by Stark in the OC, the world's first 360-degree gym, sharing the best tips and strategies to look better naked and perform at your best. For more information, go to www.starklife.us, or if you're in Orange County, just come on and stop by. And please, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes.
Stark Naked Radio from Southern California, where we talk about
strategy,
butts,
goals, blood chemistry,
lifestyle,
IV therapy,
poop, tips,
digestion,
and
science
to help you
look better naked
and perform at your best.
So you've decided to have babies. I just want to say that.
Not me.
What are we talking
not
about?
Me, suckers.
We're going to talk about feeding babies or feeding children or feeding all ages.
I think from womb to
because I was going more with the kids route. Because if we're talking about babies, I should probably sing "Mother's Milk" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I have some specific questions before we get started, though, from my Instagram.
Audience
do
questions.
I do the song before or after the questions?
We should go with the song first.
So we're talking about what to feed your kids, and so I thought of a song that I actually sang about eating food when I was a kid, as I watched Barney.
Oh.
So jump in and sing along if you want.
Barney.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I want to eat apples and bananas. Hey, but listen, that was like a 7-minute song because then they'd go, I want to oat, opals and bananas. And it would just go on like that with different vowels till my mom was satisfied that I'd been distracted long enough for her to clean the house or something.
Okay, let's get into some of these questions from the Instagram followers of Testosterone. You guys ready? Mm-hmm. First one's from Crotch Joe.
Crotch Joe?
No, not crotch. CROTT.
Okay, sounds good. Cool.
How important... Oops, somebody's calling me. Go away. Call decline.
Oh,
How important
so
do you
important.
feel your cardiac calcium score is? This one's for you, Dr. Alice.
I don't feel it's important at all. But
I think we just went to a talk, actually. Todd and I, Boston Heart Talk, in regards to cardiovascular health. So here, it's one of the things that you should definitely look at. I do refer a lot of patients
Everyone
out.
should look at?
Not everyone. Like
Just if there are some early indicators or...
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it?
Depends on the patient.
If you have like cardiovascular risk.
That was a trick question, Alice. You passed.
No, that was a question. Like if they have like other risk factors or.
Yeah, if they have other risk factors. If their lipid scores look like crap and, the inflammatory scores look pretty bad. One of the cardiologists did mention that, unfortunately, a lot of the scanning or the imaging technology doesn't pick up soft plaque. Mm-hmm. Soft plaque is actually way more dangerous than anything you can basically see.
Than hard plaque?
Than hard plaque, so to speak. And I think, and again, I'm not that familiar with the imaging technology. Again, I refer that out to cardiology. But I think the ones that you can visualize, and the soft ones you can't, and those are the ones that tend to be a little bit more problematic. So, calcium score is, pertinent in the context of your other lab findings, and again, what the patients are doing when it comes to their lifestyle and diet.
Okay.
Good answer, Doc.
I've got a couple questions about taurine. First one is from the same guy, Crotch Joe. Is taurine in energy drinks beneficial?
So that is what Red Bull is known for, by the way.
Bread Bull?
Bread Bull.
Red Bull.
They say there's taurine in it and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing is that Red Bull also contains a massive amount of sugar and massive amount of caffeine. So it's not necessarily the taurine that's contributing to the energy, so to speak. If anything, taurine, so we were taught that it is considered the master primary osmolyte. It's kind of like the
It
traffic.
sounds like something from the Book of Abraham.
What?
Troglodyte.
The primary was it?
Osmolyte. So
From the tribe of Osmolite.
So it's kind of like a traffic controller in regards to your minerals coming in and out of your cell. So for those who are, for example, they say that they take a buttload of magnesium and they don't feel it, then you would add taurine. Buttload.
Because you can get the runs if you take too much.
Yeah, but those are, these are the people who take a lot, they don't feel it, they don't even get diarrhea. Or actually, they will get diarrhea from it, but they don't get the, relaxing effect of it. That usually means that they're deficient in taurine. Now, I don't know too many lab testing companies that actually measure out taurine, but it's safe to assume that most people are deficient in it.
Okay.
In particular, you're vegetarians.
Fun fact.
So I was going to say, there's a couple different ways. Like, so his Crot John, is it Joe? Crot John?
Crot Joe.
Crot Joe is asking about energy drinks.
Yeah.
So let's parse that into two questions. So is it assuming, well, maybe we should not go down the whether or not energy drinks are bad, but is that something that's beneficial in the energy drinks, or is it more like taurine? Is it good for you? If you should get it, where should you get it from?
Taurine is good for you. Most people are deficient. If it's in an energy drink, it's supposed to help make it work a little better. Not necessarily as an energy kind of enhancer, but yeah, it's one of those things.
It's hard to
is
believe
it
that.
a little bit like wine having resveratrol? It's like, well, their energy drinks have taurine, so it's like where they're kind
the
of
amount of taurine isn't necessarily have like an effective dose all the time.
I mean, what's the quality like in Red Bull? It's
yeah. So is that a marketing strategy or a sort of a ploy to
window
be like,
dressing mostly?
Yeah, or people are justifying like, well, I'm drinking this energy drink because I need taurine.
Yeah, no. The amount in Red Bull is not enough. The amount that Todd is taking is very. I mean, even I was a little cautious about giving him that high of a dose, but I was taught that it is it's safe. I don't think there has been any kind of toxicity levels associated with taurine. If anything, it might make you a little bit too calm. If anything, what has happened with you, Todd?
I'm so calm.
Fun fact about
Lord.
taurine.
I'm cool as a cucumber.
Fun fact about taurine. Taurine comes from Taurus. So the first known discovery of taurine was from bull's penis.
I knew that.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
I was gonna say, how did they discover the taurine in the bull's penis?
You don't want to know.
But what's your thought about drinking energy drinks in general?
Well,
That's another podcast.
that's another podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Next question. This is from Florinilli _ 3 top approaches to increasing your testosterone levels naturally.
Horny goat weed.
Naturally, sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep.
So high quality sleep.
I said sleep. I
High-quality
said sleep before she
sleep.
said sleep.
The other one, if the patient has a magnesium or zinc deficiency, then address that.
Good one. Like
Okay.
that one.
Zinc.
All right.
ZMA, bro.
ZMA.
Okay. Last one. What about enough protein, strength training? What are some of the others?
Don't try to get a six pack.
Don't get too lean. Right. Don't diet too aggressively.
Yeah.
Or maintain.
A healthy body weight.
Yeah, or I was gonna say, or eating at maintenance calories or in a surplus, right?
Well, if you're obese, getting to not be obese is good for your testosterone. If you are,
I have a question, actually, maybe a clarifying question, Alice. What about the risk of a low fat diet for testosterone because of the role of dietary cholesterol in hormone production?
A little bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
But caloric deficit actually has more of a negative kind of contribution to lowering testosterone, not necessarily fat.
So eating more in general,
Yeah, just eating more in general.
not too much.
Not too
I don't
much.
wanna get too bulky,
it's
guys.
the whole Goldilocks, situation. Meditation. So, you have to manage your stress. A stressed out, species or individual will not think about sex. I mean, we see that all the time here.
meditate on your balls.
Yes.
The microcosmic orbit.
With your shirt off. Meditate with your shirt off. Next question. This is from Ro Obin. And he's asking about HGH. Is it beneficial in staying young?
No.
So, what's the best way to increase or maintain your human growth hormone?
Sleep?
Sleep.
There you go.
So,
heard
yet
it
again, back
here
to
first. Or
so like
Change of topic today. We're talking about sleep.
HGH, I have some issues with that one. Again, if you're super low, then we NMDs basically ask the question, well, why is that low? I have come across one case where a child had low GH, and there was a case of failure to thrive, meaning this child was teenage boy was supposed to look like a 16-year-old, but shockingly, when I first saw him, I thought he was 12 and was even more shocked when I found out that he was 16 turning 17. Wow. So again, that's a case where, I'm going to be pretty conservative. I'm going to refer to endocrinology. They're going to give, of course, probably GH to the child to help them grow. Now, for older people, the problem is that if you abuse growth hormone is indiscriminate in what it grows. And I'm talking about your organs. I'm talking about your bones, your head.
Cancer cells.
Giant head, giant liver.
So.
Like tumors.
Giant chin. You have a huge chin.
So remember we were talking off air a little while ago about a professional bodybuilder who passed away. His liver was 11 pounds. Now, if you don't know how much a liver is supposed to weigh,
say, is that huge? I don't know.
It's about almost 4 times a human liver size. So, if you're cool with walking around looking pregnant all the time,
GH belly,
six pack,
look.
but pregnant.
Yeah. It's like a basketball with a six pack on it. It's a very attractive look.
Okay, one more. I've got this is from Locum Sync, and he said he's got an arrhythmia. Does taurine truly help with that, and does it lower blood pressure as well?
Alice?
So first of all, we have to know what type of arrhythmia it is. Okay. So for AFib, then taurine is extremely effective for that, as well as carnitine and CoQ10 and a few other nutrients. I have seen it lower blood pressure beautifully, but yet again, if the patient has a stressor, an emotional stressor, it's not going to affect it as much. So just understand that, remember, most people are deficient in it. In order to replete it, you do need ungodly amounts to most people, like 10 to 20 grams. You can get this in a powder form. And also, it would be over a long period of time. So it really depends on the person and
Meaning
how
it takes a while to start to see the results, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a few weeks sometimes.
So it builds up in your system.
Yeah, it does.
But it is cheap.
Insanely cheap.
Yeah,
Very
like
cheap.
those little bottles that we have here are like $11 or $12 or something.
I don't know what you're
So it's like the least expensive thing that we sell, actually.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
Load 'em
Okay,
up.
let's move to the main topic. Kids,
So,
what to feed them. I would say yes.
This isn't, feed
Yes.
them.
Hot dogs.
Yeah.
Twinkies.
So, according to data from as recent as 2015, 2016, 1 in 5 school-age children, that's ages 6 to 19, are obese.
That's like 50%.
Wow.
Well, if Alice is doing the math, you're right. That
Oh,
would be
would you
50%.
just stop it?
1 in 5 children have obesity. And it's...
Not overweight.
yeah, exactly.
like fucking obese.
Exactly.
Wow.
So this is a huge problem. Massive, massive problem.
We need government intervention, guys.
Yeah. Stop selling soda in school.
Teach them how to go vegan.
Just turn your voice down.
That's impossible.
Keep it down.
This is an
there.
interesting one because I don't have kids yet. And so
Thank
it's...
Yet.
Yet, exactly. Someday there will be a little minion running around.
Spawn.
It's interesting because I've always wondered how obviously we're going to, Todd's going to share a little bit about how he actually navigates it, but theoretically I wonder, because I think back to some of the memories I have as a child and some great memories surrounding really horrible food.
Yeah, I ate like shit when I was a kid.
And my mom
puffs.
is a saint, bless her heart, and she didn't know, but I mean, I think of boiling Oscar Mayer hot dogs was a blast.
Vienna sausages.
There was one where there was
spam.
a treat snack called Dunkaroos. Do you remember those?
Nope.
It was like chocolate frosting with these like kangaroo crackers that you would dip in the frosting. But like my mom, like those were for the rich kids. So my mom just bought the frosting from the store and gave us graham crackers, and we dipped it in there, and she called them Mommy Roos. You know,
Oh, that's cute.
So I mean, these are like amazing memories that I have as a kid, and yet I'm like thinking now, like I wouldn't eat those things now. I don't want my kids to have those things necessarily, but so it's an interesting topic because you want to be the cool parent that gives their kid, you know, because they're going to go over to their friend's house and be like, Mom, you only give me kale, but they have potato chips. So it's an interesting topic. I'm excited to hear from Todd about the way you navigate it, and then obviously Amir and Alice have ideas on ways that we can provide.
Let's start with the sciencey stuff. Alice, what have you dug up regarding the proper care and feeding of children?
So here's the thing. And this is why we decided to talk about pregnancy and, you know, what the mother should be eating. They have found that, okay, let's be real here. We take 2 dogs, and if they're both healthy and you breed them together, you're going to have most likely a healthy puppy. If you take 2 extremely unhealthy dogs and you force them to mate and they produce spawn, maybe half of them will die, you know, or the other half will like continue to grow and have a lot of like
4
issues.
eyes.
You know, this is the problem with inbreeding, of course, with dogs. But here's the thing: it's that they have
and humans, right?
Yes,
like that. If it happens, it's a problem.
If anyone's going to have sex with my sister, it's going to be me.
Oh my God. So here's the thing: in mouse studies, because they are able to look at this, they have found that, you know, the health of the mother will affect, of course, the offspring, but interestingly enough, it will epigenetically affect the second and third, up to 3 generations down the line.
Whoa!
So
that's why Asian people are so
screwed up,
concerned about their ancestors.
Oh yes,
Screwed up.
So you know that is something, you know. Whenever we ask the question, why is there so much more autoimmunity nowadays? Why are, you know, people having more food sensitivities nowadays? You know, one of the theories is that, you know, this didn't start in this generation. This potentially started 2 or 3 generations before. And we're trying to basically, you know, kind of fight or just unroll or just unwind that. And that's insanely difficult. So that's something to consider as of right now. When it comes to pregnancy, again, first of all, full disclosure, there are 2 groups of kind of patients that frighten me more than anything else. And one is the pregnant patient and the other is the pediatric patient. So these are 2 completely different species. I mean, OBGYNs actually have one of the highest malpractice insurances out in the medical profession. Okay. And I think pediatricians actually come in pretty close after that because people freak out about their kids getting sick or getting hurt, stuff like that. And, you know, we are taught that with peds, they are completely different species. That's why whenever pediatric patients. So whenever
kids, right?
I know. So sometimes I don't see kids. I mean, what
do you see? What do you see exactly?
For the sake of our audience.
Yeah, for the sake of our audience, can you not...
can we use the non-scientific term and call them kids?
Spawn?
No,
Yeah,
not spawn.
Listen, one of my old pediatrician clients back when I was a trainer at Equinox straight up called kids, you know, parasites. That's what she called them, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's quite some bedside manner."
Well,
I mean,
if you're
it's
talking
true.
about financial
It's both,
implications,
actually. So what's interesting is that when you are pregnant, you guys in particular, sorry. Anyway, the woman
when
is
us
pregnant.
guys are pregnant.
Yes, well, I guess kind of anyway. So when women are pregnant, you know, all of your resources will go to that child to make it as, you know, healthy as possible. I mean, again, it is
resources like nutrients.
Yes, so it's seen as a parasite. I mean, that's what parasites do.
I don't like that.
They take all the
imagery at
good stuff though, right, and leave you with the toxins and things?
Unfortunately, there is a theory that the firstborn child actually gets the most offloading of the toxins.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
So
That explains why my brother ended up the way he ended up.
Yeah, the astronaut. Yeah.
Well, the firstborn
No, you're
is
saying that
is scientifically
they receive
more
the most
successful.
toxins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's bad. It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. So sometimes
So Mark being awesome in spite of the fact that he's the firstborn.
Way to go, Mark. Way to overcome it.
I know.
Your limitations.
Yes. So, I mean, that is something that is theorized, maybe seen sometimes. We don't know. Again,
So what should we feed these
And
parasites?
I was going to say, hold on.
Well,
I've got
first of all, parasites.
I've got a thing with this, and this is just a little bit of a rant, but it seems to me, this is anecdotal, but from my experience, that women, it's like almost this ass backwards way of approaching pregnancy. Like when they're pregnant, they let themselves go. They're like, I'm eating for 2. I'm going to gain weight anyways, so no big deal. They're like smashing peanut butter and pickles and weird stuff. And then after their baby is born, then they're like, okay, now I'm going to like get back in shape. I'm going to get dialed in. I'm going to focus on my diet and things like that. I'm like, that's such a weird way of doing it. So the period in which you have influence on the health of your unborn child, you don't really care. And then once it's done, you're like, all right, me time now. Going to get this rig toned up again.
Yeah.
But I think that's a result of the disconnection between nutrition and medicine.
Yes.
You know, it's just not like a thing to
It's-
think about.
it's not.
Like the fact that if she eats too many cookies, that it's going to have a negative impact on the baby. You know?
Right. So, in my experience, again, and this is one of the things that put me down the path towards, naturopathic medicine anyway. But I had a patient client back in the day who, that pediatrician client, her first time around, she had so many problems with her pregnancy. She had gestational diabetes. She got carpal tunnel. Her baby was, because of the gestational diabetes, had to be induced and had to be born early because he was an abnormal size. And she basically said, okay, that is not happening again with my second child. So I'm going to get a trainer. I'm going to eat better. And I'm going to train throughout my pregnancy. And that's exactly what she did. And she had a much easier time. She didn't get the gestational diabetes the second time or the carpal tunnel. And, her labor ended up being, I believe, like less than an hour.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, I mean, mind you, she was a beast. This one was deadlifting, like trap bar deadlifting into her third trimester. She was doing ropes in her third trimester, battling ropes, basically saying, I'm prepping, she's going through it 30-second intervals thinking, I'm prepping for my labor right now. And I was like, oh my God, you're like crazy. Love her, really respect her. And what's interesting is her child is a firecracker. This daughter of hers. I've seen, I just recently saw her about a year ago. It's been 6 years since she was born, and the girl is healthy. The girl is like a firecracker. A lot of energy, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know, a lot of influences can go into that, but, women need to be very mindful of what they eat, when they're pregnant. Now, we'll go into the specifics.
Sorry, real quick, shout out to Mimi Chang.
Yeah.
Dr. Justin Chang's wife, who is crushing it, working out right now as she is in her third trimester currently.
That was a secret.
It was?
No.
I was like, I got nervous for a second. No, she's awesome. So she's doing what you're talking about. She's coming in and she's working out. Justin's helping her train, and she's going to...
He's not much of a trainer. I saw him last night. He's just like looking around, taking video clips of her working out.
He's a classic 24-hour fitness trainer.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's...
Address your hate mail to Alice at Stark.Life.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. First and foremost, there are, if we have to talk about nutrients, then there are 3 that we have to consider. So the first one, the most important one in my opinion, is DHA.
Which is a...
It is what is a component of omega-3, but DHA
Which is
a fish oil.
But it can be in other foods, right?
Fatty acid.
Like
Not just
algae.
fish.
It could be an algae, yeah. So we can find that vegan form there for our vegan patients. But yes,
Should you be vegan and pregnant? I mean, like, there are people like, is that the best? Like, if someone would like to choose, like, should I do this pregnancy vegan or should I do it more omnivoric? What did you say, Dr. Alice?
I don't support it. I don't. I have
Triggered.
I address all the hate mail to Stark. I mean,
I
Amir
don't
at
want to eat
starklife.us.
anything's soul. I don't want to eat a soul of another.
I don't think that's an argument. I think it's more pain.
I've had that thrown at me, actually.
It's one of
an
the
argument.
depends on which militant anarchist vegan you're talking to.
So,
But back to the omega-3 question. That it's in other foods, right? Like isn't it in grass-fed beef?
yes,
And,
you can find it in grass-fed beef. Not high levels of DHA though.
Oh, okay.
So it's higher in EPA, and EPA is important.
What about bone marrow?
Again, it's not going to be found in that either.
But it's ever so delicious.
So DHA is found higher in fish.
Okay.
It's in
Brain
higher in
food.
fish. And half of your brain is about 40% of your
let
brain
me
is fat.
guess. Feed babies sardines and mackerel.
No. The mother.
A lot of honey.
Oh God! No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, so a lot of mothers. So first and foremost, so we check our patients' omega-3 index. Okay, so the omega-3 index in a Vibrant or Boston or any of those, that's measuring how much omega-3s you have in your system versus your omega-6s. Can you guys give me a guess as to how many
7.
times I actually come across optimal levels of omega-3
Out of 10?
index?
Out of 10, 0.25.
And this is from like initial intakes, by the way. Okay, I never, ever see it.
0%.
0.0.
Never see it.
0.0.
Actually, no. I have only seen it once.
And you've run like
Okay.
300 labs, right?
Like I've run over 300.
But you
Can we
see
get a number
mine
crunch
now,
on
right?
that?
Todd's
Yeah.
is optimal. Yes.
Cat food for lunch every day.
Does that fatty acid index that you do? Does that check for? Can you check down like to DHA, EPA?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
do that
It'll
as well?
break it down.
Okay,
Yep.
so moms should eat more DHA because I want to get to like birth and like talk to
Gotcha.
like
Yeah,
about
once
So
once the peds are out.
So mom needs to eat it, but here's the thing: the kids need to eat it too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so I will talk about my nephew because he is, my little science experiment. My sister has
Creepy.
allowed me to do that. And again, it's one of those things where, first and foremost, my sister and her husband has elected to not vaccinate him. That is quite controversial. Don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
now,
let's not go
here's
there.
the thing is that they have elected not to, for many reasons, by the way. There is a lot of autoimmunity in our family, and, they don't want to risk that in him.
So for religious reasons.
No, she said a lot, not a lot.
So here's the thing is that if you're going to do that, you better make sure that, the foundations are taking care of the child. It's not like you can just decide to not vaccinate and then just let them eat freaking Cheetos and all that stuff. So anyway, for him... I love Red Hot Cheetos!
Oh, those are delicious.
I love those. I'm probably going to have stomach cancer from that, by the way. But anyway, so for him... Right off the bat, he, when he was born, first, my sister, of course, supplemented well during her pregnancy. Second of all, with him, he has been taking DHA his entire life. His first 5 years. He's still taking it right now. I don't know. When do kids start reading, you guys?
When do kids start reading?
Yeah.
Varies
kindergarten?
greatly.
Kindergarten?
Preschool?
No, is it?
Yeah.
Hey,
Like
What-
first grade,
are we going
right?
to talk? Are you going to tell us the other two nutrients though?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And that's important too. We'll get to that. But for him, again, he's been on DHA for a while. And he's a very smart, very, well-behaved child. Like
Yeah, but
no
you-
developmental issues that
Yeah,
I
but
can
I could
see.
kick his ass.
Oh, Lord.
What's his top Mario Kart score?
So DHA right off the bat, I would test the mother. We do have some preconception patients here. I test it aggressively because, again, that's going to help with conception as well. So that's that. Fish oil, DHA in particular. So what I would do with my female patients, especially going through pregnancy, well, get a regular fish oil, but I'm going to also give them an additional prenatal DHA as well.
And
So
there's
that's-
gummies for like kids too, right? So
Actually, liquids.
liquids?
Yeah, well, you don't want to give a infant a gummy, no, or a newborn a gummy.
Oh, yeah.
So they will
Because they are
have-
gummy.
Oh come on, yes they are.
Get it?
Nice.
They
Good,
are, they are
good.
quite gummy.
That was
Yeah, good dad joke.
that was clever.
So the
That is a
second
dad joke.
thing that moms should have on board is choline. So choline is important for the development of your neurotransmitters, your neurons, in fact, the axons, the myelin sheath that covers the axon.
I thought chlorine was bad for you.
No, choline. Oh God.
That's joke number two. Number two.
So where does the whole food source of choline?
Uncooked yolk.
It's like poached eggs.
Yes.
Delicious.
Oh, there's
Runny
nothing
baby.
So good.
sexier than cutting into a poached egg. I love that.
I miss that.
And dipping your toasted gluten into it.
Oh, yeah.
My prom date was a runny egg.
What is wrong with you today?
I
What is right with you today?
Yeah, what is right with me? So runny egg yolk?
Yeah, and a lot of prenatals will have high levels of choline in it. Now, most people do not eat enough choline. That's
How do you check for it? To
Again,
see if
we
the
can
mom needs it?
we can do a micronutrient test.
Okay.
You know, we can test for that. We can see if choline is on board. In fact, you know, it's so that plus the prenatal that I like to have my patients on is actually by innate response, no affiliation. Well, yeah, I don't really make money off the supplements, so yeah, innate response, and that one is it has a nice high choline content in it, and I will encourage, if of course the mother doesn't have sensitivities to eggs, to make sure that they eat runny yolk. Now, if you cook the yolk, then the choline degrades, by the way. So that's something really important to note. So you have to make sure that it's poached or sunny side or something like that.
What's the other
Or
nutrient?
just straight up raw, right? You
Like
just eat
Rocky?
a raw egg.
No, I
Like
wouldn't
Rocky?
know. Here's the problem with raw eggs, at least the raw the white parts. Okay.
Yeah.
So the white parts, if you eat it raw, will unfortunately potentially deplete you of biotin.
Really?
Yeah.
What
So
the heck?
that will basically
Isn't that the albumin or whatever?
Yeah, albumin will bind to
I keep
biotin.
pronouncing shit wrong. Albumin.
Oh, stop.
What was that? Aldosterone?
Aldosterone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up that sore
Now,
subject.
so again, nervous system development, and the last one is
I've never heard this before. So raw egg whites is bad for you.
yeah. Yeah, I
Crazy.
wouldn't do it. It's you will see a deficiency in biotin for it. So, especially with these bodybuilder types eating like 10 eggs, raw eggs, and it's disgusting. But
Rocky.
How did Rocky do it with his biotin deficiency?
He absorbed the rest of it from punching
I mean,
the
he's-
cow
he-
meat.
Like he got his ass kicked in the first movie.
True. That's why.
And he got brain damage from Mob and Drago. So
Yeah.
anecdotally, he didn't do too hot.
now the third one is folate.
Folate.
Yes, folate. So high. Now, it's not folic acid, by the way. So folate is the natural form. Folic acid is a synthetic form of it, and that is another whole kind of issue. But again, you always want either methylfolate or folate. Now, where can you find natural forms of that? Leafy greens.
Asparagus.
Lots and lots of leafy greens. So a lot again.
Cruciferous?
One that yes, but the leafy greens, your
any
green
leafy
smoothies.
Kale, baby.
Yeah, kale.
Any
yeah.
leafy
Kale,
greens?
spinach.
Yeah, any and all.
Romaine?
Yes. So the thing is that you have to. I test for folate. Again, it's about 25% of the time I'll see people have, normal levels of folate. That's actually the one time where the vegetarians kind of shine theirs because they do eat a lot of greens.
Good for you guys. You got 1 point.
1 point, yes. So folate is important if you have a folate deficiency, then you might come across something called a neural tube defect. Now,
Whoa.
so that is not cool.
A neural tube defect.
Yeah, so again, as in embryology, your neural tube basically kind of comes together into a circle and that basically forms that spinal column. You know what I mean? It's the development of your nervous system. You don't have enough folate on board, then you're going to have issues with neural tube defects. Now, that's the reason why a lot of people started adding folic acid to their breads, for example. But again, folic acid is problematic. You want the natural form.
I remember folate was like the thing for like Luna bars, like bars for women. And they put a bunch of folate in there.
Yeah, that's again, it's they're assuming that these women are potentially going to be pregnant.
All right, moving on from pregnancy.
So the ultimate pregnancy drink is a green smoothie with DHA drops in there and a raw or like an uncooked egg yolk.
And some sardines.
That is the Prego
Throw some
smoothie.
sardines in there.
Yeah.
The Prego
Oh,
smoothie.
that
Blend it
is-
together.
let's
make a
bottle
nice
that
fish.
shit.
Make a nice fish smoothie.
So
Hey, let's bottle it and
The
let's start selling
Stark
it.
shake.
Yeah. Oh man, it'd be so
Hey, I see
disgusting.
what you did there.
Stork shake. Stark shake.
Stork shake.
Okay, that was good. That was good, Amir. That was like
That's exceptional
dad
marketing.
joke merged with marketing genius. Okay, so we're moving on. Now we're going to talk about the peds
The
once
little
they're
people.
out.
The little people.
The little spawn.
Little spawns.
Little spawns.
So
Well,
should their
The niños, as
should
Brian
their
would call
nutrition
them.
change from when they're fresh out to when they're like say 18?
So
Well, they should probably stop drinking breast milk.
When they're 18?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, don't try to tell me how to live my life, Tyler.
He's 48 months. He's 48 months old.
So okay, first 2 years, you guys. I mean, listen, it's gonna live off the mom's teat. All
2
right?
years? That's pushing
listen,
it.
Okay, I have a question.
Ideally, 2 years.
I have a
you guys.
question.
Yes.
Soy-based formulas versus breast assist formulas, nor non-formula.
What do you mean, huh?
Like what? Like, have you come across anything that like people would use? Soy alternatives for their nursing.
I have, and soy's not great. I mean, there is still a huge debate around soy, by the way. Whether it's good for you, bad for you. It's a phytoestrogen. Is that going to be bad? It's GMO. It's bad. Whatever. Listen, women have breasts. They are there not
Yes,
for
they do.
the sexual pleasure of you men,
But-
primarily.
I beg your
What?
pardon. It can be both things.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen, it can, but listen, primarily
Dual
it
purpose.
is there to feed
Okay,
the
hold on.
spawn. All
But
right?
serious,
But why do I have
serious,
nipples?
serious triggering issue. There is a culture of shaming for women who aren't able to breastfeed.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about that because that's a real thing. Like that's a real issue. Like some women are very saddened by the fact that they aren't able to breastfeed. And so what are some alternatives in that case?
Wait, what do you mean? They're not able to?
Yeah,
like breastfeed because
they don't
are
produce
not-
enough milk, or
So, again,
sometimes babies have troubles with latching. I'm
So
learning all this stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
you have to work with a specialist for that. And here's the the reason why I know so much about this is because there were a handful of people who got pregnant during medical school, and we had to kind of learn the process. And they had issues with latching, and they had the breast milk wasn't coming out. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrible. So you work with the specialist. Naturopathic doctors are very, very good at addressing these things. There are botanicals to actually increase, milk production. Now, when it comes
Yeah, but
to
what if you can't produce any milk?
again, you got to find out the reason why that's
Well,
happening.
so okay, I have an example. Lady gets a breast augmentation when she's younger, not knowing that it would potentially cause an inability to breastfeed in once she had kids, and then that was affected it. It's not like she did it knowingly, but still. So she's at the junction where she's like, shoot, I did this. Now I don't have the ability to breastfeed. What is the alternative? Like, how do you navigate that?
You can get milk donations. There are women out there who will basically donate their breast milk. Like these are women who maybe lost their child, after they were born, and they still produce milk, and they will still pump, and they will donate to these centers. Wow. So I don't know where. I would have to actually ask one of my colleagues who's doing that. A few of them did actually end up donating to these centers. I would go with that. The other alternative is that they do have goat milk formulas.
Okay.
So goat milk,
Never heard of it.
out of all the dairy products out there, tends to be the least allergenic.
Okay.
Compared to obviously cow. So those are considerations. I'm not a big fan of the other formulas, soy-based or whatever. It's just, there are
So
kids who will react to it. That's another thing too.
So best case scenario, you can breastfeed.
Yes.
You're saying optimally till 2 years.
Yes.
Next best is get it off the black market or from one of these centers.
It's not the black
there are local religious, your kind of local religious organizations can help with these donations,
Yeah.
like for people who can't nurse.
And then next
Women.
best would be goat milk formula.
Yeah. Now, side note, I came across this a few years ago, and I don't know why it's popping in my head. Apparently in London, they have a shop that serves breast milk ice cream.
Man, fuck Blendon.
Wow.
So
What?
That's
That's gross. That's gross.
What's your favorite flavor of breast milk?
Oh God,
That's gross.
it's really gross.
Orangutan.
But, I mean, that's. But I mean, you think about it. You're drinking the breast milk out of a cow. That's what ice cream is. So from another human, what makes it
No,
any
but ice cream is like a bunch of sugar, like added to that, and cream and like ice.
I think they do the
Not
same
just
thing with this
frozen
human.
titty milk.
No. I think they. Oh my God. I don't know if they still sell it now.
Man,
but
Europe is crumbling. Europe is crumbling. That's another podcast. Maybe you guys do that on your Sea Life podcast.
Yeah, I'm talking about Brexit and breast milk.
Yeah, just how
Oh Lord.
the suicide of Europe.
So what's funny is that I had an ex who, we knew about this.
Which one?
Oh, come on, Amir.
Hey, this is a running gag.
So he actually
if you're not new.
went to this shop to see if
just-
they
just
indeed
window shop, right?
sold breast milk ice cream, and believe it or not, they were out. They were
Wow.
sold out.
They need to get some more women in the back.
Yeah, because
room.
all those damn GMOs ruined all the breast milk supply.
So anyway, going past that, breast milk for the child, yes, 2 years. Here's the thing, mucosal immunity, important, when the child is breastfeeding. Whenever I come across a chronically ill patient, there are two questions I ask. Number one, were you born via C-section or vaginal birth? Number two, how long were you breastfed? Or if at all. So gross majority of these patients who have like these weird chronic diseases, they either have one or both kind of situations where they're born via C-section or they were not breastfed at all. So, remember, you get your immunity from your mom. That's super important. Yes.
I was not breastfed.
That explains
And
so much.
I got cut off at 6 months.
And I got sick a
explains.
lot
Yeah.
as a child. I got sick all the time.
Hey, when I was a wee one, we were living in Japan, and there was an earthquake, and my mom freaked out, and her breast milk stopped.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
That's
kind of scary, huh?
your poor mom.
Too bad they didn't have goat milk formula back then.
They didn't have Japanese goats.
They didn't have that radioactive milk.
No, it was
Triggered.
not back then.
So let's say you are of grade school age, or you're of a child of grade school age, and school lunches and brown bags and stuff like that. So what is the best nutritional strategy for?
What is the best
Solid
type
food for
of
kids.
pizza for a kid to eat at the cafeteria?
So when I want to, is a fruit roll up better or Vienna sausages? Did they still make those?
Yeah.
Again,
Gross.
peds freak me out. They can't communicate well. I can't reason with them.
They do math better
They're
than
pretty
you, though.
good at communicating, actually.
Can we do this? Let's talk, Todd. Your kids are getting a little older, like teenage years and stuff. Let's rewind to the before Stark days. What you fed your kids, what you feed your kids now, and also what you butt up against with your kids being exposed to in other homes from a food standpoint.
Okay.
And I will have a comment on that as well. So.
So pre-Stark, it was all mac and cheese and hot dogs, just and pizza and just all the normal food that most kids eat. Post-Stark, I wasn't, because when I started working at Stark, my family wasn't working at Stark, and so I was really the only one exposed. And it's hard to influence. It's hard to foster change in a household that dramatically. And so all I did was focus on my own nutrition, and eventually it started to influence everybody else in the household. My littlest one, when I first started at Stark, was maybe 6 years old, and she would ask, "Daddy, is this healthy?" And so it started changing how they would think about food. And eventually, today, 7 years later, because that's how old Stark is, my wife and two of the three children have done all of the blood work that I've done. And so they know that they've got issues with dairy and issues with gluten. Lizzie's the only one that hasn't. She's 11. She's the next one to go. And we joke periodically, like, you can't eat that pizza, Lizzie, because it's full of gluten. And her response is, I haven't had my blood work done yet. When I get my blood work done, then I'll stop eating gluten. So we're generally gluten free. There's not really any of that kind of food in the household. When they go out or they're having lunch at school or whatever, then they tend to eat like a normal person. But otherwise, they eat like I do. We were joking around the kitchen table the other night that my turkey burgers were really should be looked at like cookies, and Jack's like, yeah, flavorless meat cookies. But so they eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of high quality protein. And high quality gluten free carbs, and we avoid dairy. That's pretty much the way it is. Go ahead.
Are you able to sort of distill into 3 to 5 sort of principles that you follow for how food is handled in your household?
Yeah. The first one is what, I mean, I buy most of the groceries. First one is everything's gluten free. The second one is everything is dairy free. The third one is the meat sources or the protein that we eat is all grass fed or free range or wild caught. And the fourth one is everything is organic. And that's really it. The decisions on how the macros play out are totally different than for me. There's nobody's trying to gain muscle or lose fat, or except for me. And so they eat how they want. Otherwise, they do. There's probably a slightly less than normal amount of sugar in the household.
Is that just by virtue of what you buy?
Yeah, Like the kids will periodically have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. And it may be a gluten-free cereal, but may have a lot of sugar in it. That's kind of like the last. I don't know if I'll ever win that one, and I don't know if I care. They're very healthy eaters relative to all of their peers, and the rest really is up to them as they get older.
So, okay. So with regards, I mean, so you could follow those. It sounds to me like you have these principles around food selection or the quality of the food. But I mean, you could, if you said to me, hey, dairy-free, gluten-free, organic, right, grass-fed, wild-caught, you could probably still find a bunch of junk, right? Like there's plenty of organic, gluten-free cookies and organic dairy-free ice cream and stuff like that. So, but because you're in control of the shopping, just the amount of that comes into the house is limited, or no?
It's definitely limited.
But there's some of it because
there's some of it, but it really isn't.
Themselves.
It's probably not like the ordinary American pantry. Like if you look in ours, you'll see a giant bag of organic dried mangoes with only mangoes in it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely snack foods. Obviously, that's got a lot of sugar in it, but it's better quality sugar than, let's say, Starbursts.
Yeah,
Starburst.
I know, I love them. Yeah.
Alice, you had a comment?
Yeah. So again, we're just referencing to my case of 1 point of my nephew. So it's n equals 1, but
I'm gonna
whatever.
bully the shit out of your nephew.
You stop it. So
Cyberbully it.
So it's kind of interesting watching him grow up, and especially with the way that, we try to do things as naturopathic and naturally, as possible. So he was taught at a very young age. This kid is 5 years old. If he is offered any sort of food, he will be that little jerk kid that'll ask, "Is that organic?" I mean, it's something that he learned from his parents. Yes. My sister was, very communicative with him in regards to, trying to eat well. Interestingly enough, whenever you see him at a party and you ask him, like, what do you want to drink? And he was like, water. Like, it's one of those things where obviously if you start at a very, very young age, and if the parents are basically there to encourage that and teach that at a very young age, then it can translate. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to him, once he goes into grade school, but he has been in school for the past 2 years, preschool and kindergarten, and he doesn't ask for those types of things. So,
Amir, I can see you just frothing to jump in.
Yes.
My only thing that I have in working with individuals who have families, the one piece of advice that I have, I would say, is this concept of single ingredient foods. There's a lot of issues around foods that are highly processed. So the more of your household can be made up of single ingredient foods, I think the better off you are, right?
Absolutely.
How many ingredients are in an apple? How many ingredients are in chicken? And you can make these meals.
Just chicken isn't chicken.
Yeah, that's
pretty
right.
Sure.
Unless it's a turducken.
Then there's 3 ingredients. How do you know about a turducken? That's a Louisiana thing. That's funny.
So
you don't know where
that's
I'm
my
from.
one little, my little nugget of advice is just try to think about the percentage of the food in your house that is coming from a single ingredient.
Now, so recently, my nephew had a ding dong for the first time.
What?
He had a ding dong for the
I'm
first
appalled.
time. I know, but my sister was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, have it," because he brought it home. His friend gave it to him. He ate it, and he didn't feel great. And my sister sat there and I was like, "Well, why do you, what do you think? Why do you think you don't feel great right now?" I mean, he sat there and he said, "I think it's because I ate those ding dongs or whatever the nasty."
I felt great for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then she asked, "Are you going to eat it again?" He goes, "Definitely."
Of course I will.
No, and
Next chance I get.
No, this
Next
is what
chance
she
I get.
did. Is she asked him, so "What are you going to do about that?" And he was like, "Well, I guess no more ding dongs for me." Like again, this is this is a 5-year-old. We didn't. I don't know how. I don't know. Maybe he's an angel child. I have no idea. I would hope that
Or
if
maybe
I
he's
have,
a nerd.
He is a nerd. So I would hope that if I have a child, it will be something like that. But. Here's the thing: there are no guarantees in regards to how your spawn will end up being. So, Amir,
What?
comments?
Wrap us up with a little nug.
A nug? Okay, I will do that. So 35 boys. This is a research paper from the Journal of Abnormal Child Psychology. 35 boys who were reported by their moms. These are 5 to 7 years old, who were reported by their moms to be sugar sensitive. Like hyperactive. They were divided into 2 groups. One group was given a high dose of sugar. The other group, nothing. And then they were asked to play with their moms. Like they played again. And then the sugar group, the moms reported that their children were very highly overactive. Okay, and then these researchers revealed that they gave both groups placebo. Okay, so in the state of California, where in 2018 everyone's phobic about everything. They're bathing their children in hand sanitizer. They wrap them in bubble wrap and send them to school. Don't be such a helicopter parent where you're creating orthorexic behavior from them at an early age to get them to understand the concept of balance, or like a ding dong here or a ding dong there, everywhere a ding dong.
Dunkaroos.
A Dunkaroo. But
I would love a ding dong.
Having foundational principles and then building off of that, because you're going to create abnormal children, and then I have to deal with those abnormal children, and I don't really want to. And they're all going to vote.
They are going to
They're all
vote.
going to vote.
So the reason why I don't like-
what you're saying, Amir, is have foundational principles for your family, but in things in moderation, and be reasonable about stuff.
Don't be neurotic.
Don't be neurotic. All right.
Okay, that's it.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us for episode 104 on what to feed your kids. For more tips and strategies on how to look better naked and perform at your best, go to www.starklife.us. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. You know what this podcast is actually making me think about? I want candy. Dun, 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 dun. I want candy. Dun, 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 dun.
Thanks, gang.
No.
Thanks for joining us. Here's to your health.
Next week, what to feed the dead.